This is Richard RJ Eskow for Free Speech TV, and joining me now is David Garcia. David is running for governor in the state of Arizona. It's a very interesting race and a very interesting story, so let's get right to it. First of all, David, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Richard. Thanks for having me. This is great.
It's great to have you. Now you're in the middle of a primary, right? I mean, my understanding is Arizona's got one of the latest primaries of the whole season.
We are. Our primary is not till August 28th. Which means our teams are already out there working. Today we're going to knock 12,000 doors this weekend, for example, just to get the vote out to make sure we get over that primary. We feel like we're in really good shape there. We're not taking anything for granted. A handful of polls have been up 20 plus points on average in those polls. And we've got the support of you name the organization that's been in the good fight, and they're behind us.
So for people who don't know, who is David Garcia?
Yeah.
What's your background?
I'm a native Arizonan, born and raised. I'm Arizona's story, basically. I'm a fourth generation Arizonan. I am a product of our public schools. I'm the first in my family to go to college, and I mention that a lot because that is like so many of our young people who are looking for to use education to advance themselves. I joined the Army when I was 17. My dad had to sign for me because I couldn't sign for myself. I went to a sense of duty, obviously, but also because I needed an opportunity, and the GI Bill helped me with that tremendously. Learned a lot, grew up, came home, went to Arizona State, and then went to University of Chicago for graduate school. There was an amazing opportunity to get a chance to study at a place like Chicago. And when I was done, I could have gone, my wife and I could have gone anywhere and contributed. But when you are the first in your family to get that kind of opportunity, you got to go home again and build. And so I have since gone back to Arizona and built the state. And I tried to do my best to build the state that built me. I've been in public education. My background is statistics. So I've worked at the state legislature. I was the associate superintendent for the state of Arizona, so I know the state well. I've been in an executive position there.
Superintendent of education.
Of education, that's exactly right. But my goal in life was to become a professor. And for the last 12 years, that's what I've been doing. It's a great gig. You work with young people who are interested and interesting. But in 2014, I was sick and tired of watching our legislature cut and crush public education. So I ran for office then, and we got this close. In a tough year, we came within 0.5% of winning. You got to think about this. So it's 2014. I walk in to the Democratic office and basically say, hey, I'm going to run for office, and tell people that. And they say, all right, let me get this straight. You're a down ballot, pro-public school, Latino Democrat in Arizona. Good luck with that.
Right.
And we got this close. The good news is this time around in 2018, we're going to get over the top.
It just makes me think about that story of 2014. And of course, we're going to talk about 2018, but it just makes me think about all those times where people put half as much energy into making sure we can do something as they do in deciding it can't be done. We'd do a lot more.
We would do a lot more. No question. 2014, the issue was voter turnout. And
Absolutely.
It was turnout. We did a really nice job in our campaign. To give you some perspective, the gubernatorial candidate that year lost by 11 points. We made up a lot of ground, just couldn't get over that last little bit. And the narrative out there that your vote doesn't count is simply not true. 1.5 million votes were cast in Arizona, and we lost by under 15,000. And
yeah, there you go.
Putting that effort into it matters.
Yep. Now, between now and August 28th, obviously you've got a primary to get through. I know that in that primary, you are endorsed by a lot of people or organizations I consider friends of my own. You mentioned a few. I think Our Revolution. Who else?
We've got CWA, Planned Parenthood, for example, Working Families Party, PCCC, DFA has also endorsed us. Local labor organizations have endorsed us. Unite Here. In addition, our Arizona Education Association has endorsed us. I'm really proud to have their backing. These are organizations that are fighting for working families or are fighting for the voices of those that have been most impacted by the policies for the last couple decades. And so I'm proud to have their endorsement, proud to have them behind us, and I look forward to winning and bringing those voices to the fore at the governor's level. Our campaign, we're also not taking corporate PACs or lobbyist money, which is great, so that we can walk. I used to work at the legislature, so I know how it goes. When you don't take money from lobbyists, you come down the elevator. There's a lot of dark suits out there waiting to get their part, and you can walk right past every single one of them and go out and serve the people, in this case, the people of Arizona, and that's going to be exciting.
Well said. Now, I know you said you're not taking anything for granted, but let's say August 28th, David Garcia wins. He's a candidate. Who are you facing? What are the issues?
So August 28th, we'll take a deep breath, we'll celebrate, tell our teams thank you, get up on the 29th, and go after our Republican incumbent governor, Doug Ducey. Ducey has one of the lowest approval ratings in the country. 26% of Arizonans want to see him come back and into office again. And the number one issue is public education. Arizona has cut public school funding more than any other state in the last decade. And we continue to go down this road in Arizona that I think the rest of the country needs to pay attention to. And that is cutting public education to the bone, criticizing it for not improving, and then turning to privatization.
Right.
And the problem with that is as soon as we allow that to happen, the story I just told you is no longer Arizona's story, it's no longer America's story, and we've got a system of haves and have-nots immediately. And so when Doug Ducey signed our universal voucher bill in Arizona, it's the moment I stepped in and said the fight's at the governor's level now. But since then, our teachers in Arizona walked out for 6 days. They walked out 50,000 plus, wearing red, took to the streets of Phoenix. And it means that they are looking for a change. Arizonans are looking for a change in public education is the lead issue. It is my strength. It is Ducey's weakness, and it's going to be the issue that's going to galvanize folks across Arizona to get out and get involved and vote.
You know, one of the things that struck us, and I've been watching these teacher strikes with, great encouragement, makes, it's very uplifting, very inspiring to a lot of us. One of the things that we saw is that they took place not in what they call blue states, right? We're talking about West Virginia, we're talking about Oklahoma, and we're talking about Arizona.
Sure.
And my sense, but you tell me, my sense was, for example, the teachers that walked out in Arizona, people, of course, there was opposition, but a lot of the public supported what they were doing, understood that they were marching for themselves and the students, and believed in it and came out to back it. I felt that there was, my sense was that there was public support behind what they were doing, and then maybe that could translate into helping you in November. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'll tell you, the states you're mentioning all have a lot in common, and one of them is deep cuts to education. Mm-hmm. The reality is we've got teachers, and specifically in Arizona, who, as much as Arizona has been prospering, our teachers haven't benefited. And in my opinion, that is broken. That idea is broken. So when teachers came out and walked out, by the way, you're going to see very little opposition to this. It was one of the most beautiful exhibitions and gatherings I had been part of. There were teachers out there in big numbers, no incidents. I went out there and there were yoga classes going on. There was a teacher teaching an AP English class out there to her students. It had just this amazing uplifting atmosphere to it. And for our teachers that are out there, they're focused on the big picture. And they're simply saying, look, this isn't just about teacher salaries. This is about better schools in Arizona. And so they made it clear that everybody who makes schools work need to be part of the benefits that need to come with an investment in public education. So they're talking about bus drivers and counselors and janitors. Mm-hmm. And I found that to be amazing, that it wasn't just about teachers. I think that's where some folks got it wrong. It's about everybody. And the support was phenomenal. My own school, parents were on Facebook and on chat boards talking about, okay, what are we going to do? Who's available to make sure that they're taking care of other people's kids? What's going on at the school? How can we gather? And there was not, at least in anything I heard, very few instances where students were left out. It was one of the most kind of amazing coming togethers I've seen in a long time in Arizona.
What are the other big issues you guys are facing there?
Well, you got to go with education, and I got to say that again.
Right.
It is about half of the state budget is education.
Okay.
So, that is going to be a big one. On day one, we're going to take on education. We're going to take it on day two until we get this one solved. And I just want to make sure that one is clear. But we've got other challenges in Arizona too. We've got the same healthcare challenges that the rest of the country has. As governor, I am committed to affordable, accessible healthcare for all Arizonans. And as we push toward a federal option, as we push toward a universal health care and Medicare for all at the federal level, we've got to make sure we're protecting our Arizonans as well. And so we're going to look at options to create opportunities to create a public option in Arizona to make sure everybody is covered. Immigration is a big issue. It's a big dog whistle issue, but it's also one that impacts Arizona's families directly and impacts Arizona economically. And we can't wait to change the narrative on that. I believe that the border is an asset to Arizona and has always been an asset to Arizona, and we're going to approach it that way. This is about creating a healthy relationship. This is about no longer creating a militarized border in our state. This is about making sure our dreamers have the opportunity to study and contribute to the only country that they know. This is about turning to our families that are working hard in Arizona and letting them know that we are not going to turn their back on them. And I think making sure that those voices are heard and leadership is going to be inspiring, uplifting.
And where can people go to find out more about your campaign and maybe throw you a buck or two?
We're going to be passing the hat a little bit later. Like I said, we are a people-driven campaign, which is amazing. They can find us at DG4AZ.com or DG4AZ on social media.
All right. Well, David Garcia, candidate for governor in the state of Arizona. Thanks for joining us. I'm Richard RJ Eskow for Free Speech TV.